Today's video is sponsored by VR Wave and their range of magnetic prescription lenses. Not only do these fit the Quest 2, as you will have seen in my earlier videos and my reviews, but they also support other headsets, including the HP Reverb G2, the HTC series of headsets. If we take a quick peek here, you can see the Vive Pro, the Vive Focus even, and some for the Cosmos, the Elite and Elite Pro. Also, PlayStation VR, the Valve Index, and even, for you drone guys out there, the DJI FPV goggles as well. These are a great, easy to use option for prescription lenses. They literally just ping on and off magnetically. So if you're switching between you and a friend using your VR headset or your drone, in this case, this page we're looking at here, it takes literally a second or two to pop the lenses on and off. They also do controller covers, carrying cases, facial interfaces, and a nice half decent looking halo strap as well. Blue light filters, a few other bits and bobs. But yeah, links as always in the description for VR Wave. They've also got some big discounts coming on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and over the Christmas period as well. So see the link in the description for more details and the up and coming discounts. I'm going to be reviewing today the much requested Next Level Racing Wheel Stand 2.0. I've had loads of people in the comments say, Carl, are you going to get one into review? And yes, I have. I also thought today I'd take the opportunity to review this GT Amiga Element Series gaming chair, because one of the features of the Wheel Stand 2.0 is that it has this little bar. I'm guessing it's this, but I haven't actually built it yet. This bar here, may as well give you a close-up. And I think the casters from your gaming chair should sit in here and here, and that should prevent your chair sliding backwards under braking or clutch operation, or even acceleration, depending how hard you press down. And this is, of course, one of the big negatives to having a wheel stand, is that your chair is never fixed to the front of your cockpit. You've always got to try and get it just in that right place where you want it again each time after you've packed it away. Whereas with this, you should be able to just fold the wheel stand up, put it away, and then when you bring it out next time, unfold it, slot slot your chair into the wheel stand, and it should be exactly where you left it. So it's a good idea. But GT Amiga sent me this Element Series chair. So we've got the wheel stand here in bits on the floor to my right, the Element Series GT Amiga chair to the left here. They sent me this months ago, and I just never got round to making a sort of a review of it, because gaming chairs aren't really what we do on this channel, even though it is from GT Amiga and they do make sim racing stuff. But I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to put the two together, because it's exactly what we need to test this with, and see how this chair is as well. So we'll do a very quick overview of the bits and bobs. If you've seen any of my Next Level Racing reviews before, you know everything always comes really well packaged and really well presented. Everything's in bubble wrap. Obviously, I've unwrapped it all already to save time. Everything's in bubble wrap and plastic. The packaging itself, the box, all nice quality. The manual is here. It's probably unnecessarily thick for a wheel stand, but we'll have a quick peek in here. Everything's, you know, illustrated and text descriptions as well. So a list of all the parts. I don't think we'll have any trouble putting that together. The wheel deck is quite substantial, I would say, for a wheel stand. Now they do their direct drive wheel stand. Too many D's there, which is a bit heftier than this. But this is pretty hefty. As you can see, it's pre-drilled for all the usual, you know, Fanatic and Thrustmaster and Logitech wheel bases. We've got some adjustment for the angle on the side here, and it's good to see these are individually drilled rather than just one smooth slot. If it was one smooth slot, there is potential, if you applied enough force, to be able to make it move on its pivot here. And where they're individually drilled, that of course is impossible. So that's good to see. So this feels pretty solid. Shifter mount feels equally solid. The the way everything is bent gives it rigidity, and then it's, I was about to say soldered, it's welded in the corners here, and if you'll see it or not, but in here. So by folding things over, giving them an edge, almost a box section type feel to it, makes it very rigid. And I'm going to say the thickness of both this and the wheel deck is probably a good 2 mil. So plenty sturdy enough for a wheel stand. Obviously, we're not comparing this to the likes of aluminium profile cockpits. Then we've got, as we'll take a quick peek, these are the brackets that allow you to adjust the angle of the pedal tray. Again, they're all pre-drilled rather than a smooth slot. So you've got no chance under heavy braking, let's say you're using quite a heavy load cell based brake pedal, you've got no chance of braking hard and this slipping down. Again, because it's pre-drilled, can't happen, rather than a smooth slot. You've also got the Next Level Racing logo on the side there, and that's on a couple of bits and bobs. So it's all good so far. The sort of stuff we expect really from Next Level Racing. They do make decent quality items. Now, pedal tray itself. Again, this is probably 2 mil thick. You've got a whole load of different slots to allow you to fit all different pedal types onto this. And they're not slotted obviously vertically or front to back. So you can't just slide things up and down. You would have to move them from one set of slots to the next. But again, that prevents anything slipping under heavy braking. So it's not a negative necessarily. What is a negative is there is no brace across the middle that way or this way, which means we will get some flex in the middle of the tray here. I mean, we've got the sides here are bent at 90 degrees, so that will add rigidity at the edges, and the same with this lip at the front there and there, or back, whichever is the front and back, I don't know yet. So it won't be bad, but it certainly won't be as rigid as something with, you know, a bit of box section or even tube across the middle there. But again, this is a wheel stand, not an 800-pound cockpit or 1,000-pound cockpit. So manage your expectations. And we've got a few other little bits and bobs. We've got the main stand here. It comes like sort of almost pre-assembled to a certain extent. I'll just bring this over here and quickly show you. This bit already comes like this, so I don't think it's going to be that much for me to do as far as assembly goes, although saying that, there's still a fair few pieces on the floor here, and that is all box section steel. I think it's carbon steel as well, and then it looks powder coated to me. And we've got some Next Level Racing stickers that come with it as well, should you want to stick those on your rig. Now I've got my, I don't know if it's in the video frame or not, but there's Fanatec CSLD, CSLDD, Fanatec CSL pedals, and a Thrustmaster THAA shifter there, which I'll be putting on this to test it with. This is the sort of equipment I think a typical wheel stand user might want to use on a wheel stand, not super high-end stuff. You know, they do a direct drive wheel stand for that very small niche part of the market that can afford and justify an expensive direct drive wheel, you know, £1,000 upwards, but that can't have a full cockpit. For this setup, you're probably going to be looking at the more middle of the range stuff like the CSL-DD, which is a pucker little entry-level direct drive wheelbase. So we'll get all that together and we'll test it out, as always, in some dirt rally, because I think rally games put the wheel stand, cockpit, whatever you're testing, under the most amount of stress because of the rapid steering inputs. But we'll get to that later. So that's the Next Level Racing Wheel Stand 2.0. Over here on the floor, the GT Amiga Element Series gaming chair. Very briefly, we'll look at this. It's quite similar to their sort of racing chairs that I get, you know, on my GT Amiga Prime. This, considering this isn't real leather, of course, it's PU leather or PVC leather, it actually feels quite nice. I was impressed with the way it felt. We have got some, no, it's not suede. What did they say it was? Velour. Some velour down the sides there, which just finish it off nicely. And I like the white stitching as well. So overall, I actually quite like the look of this chair. That's the top. The base looks the same, obviously, but it's the base. And then we've got a couple of additional cushions. This all came packed in either sort of plastic bags like this or in bubble wrap. We've got these really nice plush head cushion and lumbar support, and these feel super, super soft. I really like this material. I may even just leave one down here on the sofa to have a snooze when I fancy an afternoon nap. But they're pretty decent, I like those. Then we've just got the sort of starfishy type base that you get on all these typical casted gaming chairs, and then we've got some casters here. They're quite big, chunky casters, I might add. They look all right, look pretty decent, quite hefty. I think this is metal, and then the wheels themselves are probably plastic. Sounds like there's a reasonably smooth bearing in there as well. So yeah, that's all right. What else we got? A couple of armrests. These I don't like. I think they look hideous. And what we've got here, this looks like it's hard plastic, but it isn't. It is actually soft. It actually reminds me of the material the spoilers were made out of on the Mark III Escorts, if you're familiar with those. Certainly my UK viewers would be. The ones where you can squish them down a little bit, that sort of hard plastic. But I think it looks, well, I think they look hideous, to be honest, like I said. And I just don't really like this finish as an armrest. I mean, it feels all right. It's not hard or anything, but you know, this is personal preference. As far as the actual sort of build quality of it goes, I can't complain. This is some hefty steel here that attaches it. And this, now, we can slide this up and down. We can slide the top piece back and forward. It rotates left and right on its axis. And I think if we squeeze this, we can move it. Probably easier to do when it's on the chair. We can move it that way as well. So there's quite a lot of adjustment to get it where you want. I just don't think they're very pretty. But other than that, if anything, I really like the look of the whole chair. I'd probably just not use the armrest, but again, this is personal choice. Now, there's some instructions for that as well. And this has come with the tools to assemble it, a couple of Allen keys and a couple of bolts there to bolt these plastic covers on the side. The Next Level Racing wheel stand doesn't look to have come with any tools. I'm sure the last thing I reviewed for Next Level Racing did come with tools. So I don't know whether it's just an omission from my packaging that I've been sent, or whether you don't get tools with them. But I've got some tools anyway, so it's no big deal. Now, price-wise, this is £179, presumably plus shipping, from the Next Level Racing website. That puts it right between their wheel stand DD, which is just over 200 quid, I think, or around about £200. And the same price as the wheel stand 1.0. Now, the next sort of competitor to this would be the GT Amiga Apex wheel stand, and that is currently on offer at 120, but out of stock. The normal price is 150. So what we should be comparing here is 150 to 180. And what I will say straight away is the Next Level Racing wheel stand feels and looks much sturdier than what the Apex does. The pedal tray is definitely sturdier. The shifter mount is definitely sturdier. Wheel deck, probably not much in it. But we've then got the additional functionality of being able to slot your gaming chair into that plate on the floor and stop it from sliding away. But yeah, at the moment, it's like, would you pay an extra 30 quid for one of these? I think probably. But we'll wait and see until we get it put together. And as always, there will be links in the description for both the Next Level Racing wheel stand, and there's always GT Amiga discount codes that are automatically applied in the description of all my videos, should you want to buy anything from GT Amiga. Now, their Element Series seat is £299.99, £300. Now, I think all gaming seats are overpriced. This is a £300 gaming seat is actually what you might call an entry-level gaming seat. You can pay £2,000 upwards for a gaming chair, which is just a joke. But there's people out there with money. All manufacturers are going to provide something for every segment of the market. So I think they're all overpriced. I think £300 is a lot of money for this chair. You could actually, it's funny because you could buy like a GT Amiga Titan racing cockpit for like 270 quid, or you can buy a gaming chair, which is effectively just a desk chair that looks a bit nicer, for almost the same, well, for more money in actual fact. So interesting, but that's just my perspective on gaming chairs. I think they're pricey, but ultimately that is what they cost. So 300 notes. Again, I've got a discount code, so it'll bring it down a little bit should you need one. We'll see what that's like, whether it's comfortable, whether it feels sturdy. Again, the build quality, everything seems okay so far, your sort of typical GT Amiga quality there. But enough of the waffle, I've shown you all the bits you need to see. Let's get some sped up video on the go and get both of these built up and give them a test drive. Everything's assembled, it all went straight forward. There should have been an Allen key included in the packaging with the Next Level Racing wheel stand. It did say so in the instructions. So for me, that's gone walkabout. But you know, no big deal. I had Allen keys anyway. Yeah, that all went together smoothly and easily. I'll do a close-up walk around in a minute and show you where all the adjustments and that are on that before I throw the steering wheel, pedals and shifter on. Chair also went together easily, and I can tell you already, it's a very firm seat, which I actually quite like. Almost reminds me of like a memory foam mattress. So that's nice. I do like the way it looks. As I say, we've got our adjustment up and down, left and right on the pivots, in and out without pivoting, and backwards and forwards on the armrest here. And of course, you can recline it all the way back as far as this, and it doesn't actually tip over. So should you have a hard gaming session and want to have a little rest afterwards, you definitely can. But what I will say is my initial dislike of these armrests continues through the video. Can you hear this rattle? They just feel cheap and plasticky, and they let the whole chair down. The rest of it feels solid and well constructed. Even the PU leather, you know, the polyurethane plastic leather feels nice. The stitching looks good. The velour sides here and the bolsters are nice. These, just no. Big leg down. They look crap, they feel crap, they're just crap. But aside from that, the chair's pretty solid. I'll show you the headrest in a minute, no big deal. Let's grab the camera, do a quick little walk around close up where I can show you the adjustments on this, and then I'll throw the equipment on and take it for a test drive. So a very quick goosey at the chair. This is your lumbar support in place, and that works quite nicely. It looks like it's a bit too big for sort of lumbar support purposes, but when you actually have the chair at the correct angle, it isn't too big. It works well. And as I say, I like the design of it. I like the white stitching on the black. This polyurethane or plasticky leather is breathable. It's full of holes, so you know, you may not sweat too much, who knows. Like I say, this is super smooth and very comfortable. It just velcros on. There's a clasp there, or you can just stretch it over the top, which is what I did. I've shown you the adjustments on these, but the buttons are here, and one here and one here, and then we've got this sort of paddle here that if I twist, obviously it's already all the way up. If I was to twist it, you can say you adjust the up and down of the seat, and obviously we've got our casters on there. But I like the look of the seat. It's a nice looking seat, apart from those cheapy, crappy armrests. Anyway, enough of the seat. Let's get that out of the way. Let's have a look at the wheel stand assembled. Now, as I said before, the shifter mount is I haven't done anything up tight yet because I know where it's got to be until I put my equipment on it. This is going to be really solid. We've actually got an additional handbrake mount here that bolts to the side. This can be at an angle like it is there, or it can be flat. I've mounted it at an angle. You see, you bolt it through different holes on the other side, depending what you want to do. Obviously, this is our wheel deck, as I showed you earlier, with the adjustment here. This whole top section can come up and down. Again, I've got to set this with my equipment, and once I've got my chair in place. Pedal tray. Thumb screws here and here allow this to slide backwards and forwards. I can't do it with one hand, but I'm sure you can picture it all moving that way. A height adjustment here as well. The little tray that you put your casters in, this, when you fold it away, just lifts up and rests here. And I think there is a thumb screw around the front there that we undo that allows us to then fold it all away. But everything looks good so far, you know, for a wheel stand. Well made, pretty solid, plenty of adjustment. I don't think there's any other adjustment we need to talk about. No, I think that is everything. So yeah, I'll get the equipment on it and we'll take it for a test drive in Dirt Rally. What an absolute ball ache that was. Installing the CSL DD, the Thrustmaster TH8A and the CSL pedals, no problem at all. Trying to find a suitable driving position, complete nightmare. So this GT Amiga gaming chair that we've got here, that's probably pretty indicative of a lot of gaming chairs. There's just no way you can use it with the wheel stand 2.0. I'll show you what happens in a second, but briefly, when you put it into the sort of plate here that the casters sit into, which they fit into just fine, no problem there at all, this arm hits your shifter. Now, the TH8A, of course, hangs off the back of the shifter mount here. So if you were to use a different type of shifter, like the Fanatic shifter that sits on the top, it would clear it. But then you would have a shifter knob somewhere up here, more like a hydraulic handbrake. So that just wouldn't be usable in my opinion. The mount is as far forward as it can go and it's as far up as it can go. It just doesn't, there's no way I can get it to clear the arm of this chair. And obviously this arm is adjustable up, down, left and right and on a pivot as well. But let me just slot it in place and I'll show you what happens. And it's just totally unusable. So you can see straight away, look, I can't even get the chair pointing forwards because this arm hits it. Now if I raise the arm up, then yeah, I can clear it, but now you can't use the shifter. And you know, the Logitech shifter hangs off the back like this as well, so you can have similar problems. And the chair still isn't pointing completely straight. The other issue is, the chair is so far forward, I can't actually get in. And if I did, my steering wheel would physically be touching my chest. Now I fitted the GT3 wheel, that sits a bit further this way, and I was still like this. And this is with the plate that you put your casters into as far back as it will go. At the moment, it's actually 2 settings forward because I have found a solution. But even with it all the way back, which would have put it like about there, you can see the problems are still exactly the same. We're right above the shifter. Obviously, it would sit like that. In fact, this is slightly further back than it can really go. And we're still touching the shifter, completely unusable. If you try and lift this whole assembly up, it then brings it further towards you again, and you end up with the steering wheel in your face, and the shifter still doesn't clear the arm of this chair with it all the way up or all the way down. It just doesn't work. The solution would be, I suppose, having the chair go further back. So this plate that they've got here for the casters needs longer brackets to be able to go further back. But then you start running into issues with how far away the pedals are. You'd need like stupidly long legs because I've already got the pedal tray literally almost all the way this way. So if the chair went further back, you then couldn't reach the pedals, but you would be able to clear your shifter and steering wheel wouldn't be in your chest. And also at this height, where I've got this right now, this chair is too high. So this is a great chair, by the way, apart from these crappy armrests. It's really comfortable and I love it. But it's no use with this wheel stand. And if that's indicative of the sort of size and shape of normal gaming chairs, then this wheel stand has got issues as far as what chairs you can use. This is an old sort of typical office chair that I happen to have upstairs. You can already see it sits lower. So that sorts out the problem of height. But even now, look, we're still just catching the shifter with the arm of this chair. And there's literally nothing I can do about it. This is as good as I can get to be able to try this wheel stand out. It's just going to be totally hit and miss as to whether the chair you've got is going to work with the stand. Now, you know, what could they have done about this? They could have more adjustment on the shifter mount. It does go in and out sideways, but the further out you go, obviously the more you're having to reach across to try and change gear. So I think, I don't know, it's such a tricky one. Certainly more adjustment on the plate at the bottom that the casters sit in. That needs to be able to come back out further to be able to clear gaming chairs of the size of that GT Amiga one that I've got over there. This office chair, I am 2 notches in, so it's fine, but we still have this clearance issue with the shifter, and the shifter is as high as it will go. And you know, it would need to go another 2 inches to be able to completely clear the arm of my chair there. But that is as good as we can do. And this is going to be a real problem, obviously, for people, because you're going to buy the stand and you're just not going to know whether your chair is going to work with it or not. So I'd recommend buying it from somewhere like Amiga, because the thing is, from what in my very brief testing, putting your casters in this little plate works really well. Chair doesn't move, perfect. But I'd recommend buying it from somewhere like Amazon if you do want to buy one. I will put a link in the description, because at least if your chair doesn't fit properly and you can't find a usable position, you can just return it within 30 days. I wouldn't buy it directly from Next Level Racing, because I imagine they're not going to take it back if you say, oh, my chair doesn't fit. They'll be like, well, there's nothing wrong with the stand, is there? It's your chair. So you'll be stuck. Aside from that, the shifter bolted on just fine. The CSL DD bolts on just fine. There's 4 holes that line up underneath there. Oh, actually, it didn't bolt on just fine. I had to space out the M6 bolts that hold this on, because the wheel deck isn't very thick. I mean, it's thick enough to do the job, but in fact, a better way of saying this is the CSL DD doesn't have very deep holes for the bolts, and they bottom out inside the housing of the CSL DD before they cinch up tight against the wheel deck here. So I had to put some wash in and space them out, and I'm already using quite short bolts. So just you notice, because you get hold of it and it still moves even though the bolt's done up tight. So I knew straight away what that was. But otherwise, the bolt holes, they line up, no issue there. Same with the pedals, bolted straight on, and it all feels sturdy and pretty good. So let's actually take it for a test drive. Getting in and out is a little fiddly, I must admit. Oh, it's actually starting. But you can now pay attention and see what we get in the way of, you know, flex and what have you. I am using the 8 Newton meter setting. In fact, what I'm actually using, I'm trialling an aftermarket power supply that's about half the price of the genuine Fanatic one. So far it seems to be working just fine. As does the wheel stand from a wheel stand point of view. It feels nice and stable. I haven't got huge amounts of flex. Oh, pay attention, Cole. I haven't got huge amounts of flex in use. I mean, yes, of course I can make it flex like this because it's a wheel stand. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing attaching it to me really. So of course you can make it move around, and you can make it sort of twist up and down, and the wheel deck will of course flex as well. You know, and again, if I was to actually wobble the shifter mount, the whole thing wobbles. But this is the nature of wheel stands. You know, you'll find that with any wheel stand. It's a compromise you make for having something that folds away. But in use, as you'll see, hopefully from the side there, it seems to be pretty solid. As solid as any other wheel stand at this price point anyway. The pedal tray particularly feels very solid. I'm not feeling any movement in that at all. It's really only up here in the wheel deck, you know, and a little bit in the shifter mount. But again, This is the nature of wheel stands. They're never as solid as a full cockpit, but perfectly usable if you need a wheel stand. You know, if you don't need a wheel stand, you don't buy a wheel stand. So if you need one, and you have to deal with a little bit of play. Now the force feedback is basically, you know, at 100%. When you've only got 8 Newton meters, there'd be no reason to have it any lower. And what I mean by that is, in the Fanatic control panel, it's all the way up, and in Dirt Rally, the settings allow it to use all of that 8 Newton meters. Obviously, I haven't got it so that it's at 8 Newton meters the whole time and just gives me heavy steering. That would be weird. What is interesting here actually is I've never used a wheel stand with an office chair before, so one that can rotate like this. Whenever I've used wheel stands in the past, I've always chosen chairs that don't swivel, because it just seemed like it would be, you know, an odd experience. But weirdly, it's actually all right. You don't really feel like the chair's swiveling at all. I mean, maybe if you had heavier controls, heavier shifter, heavier pedals, you're pushing on the pedals, maybe you'll twist yourself. But with this sort of whole CSL setup and the Thrustmaster shifter, the chair doesn't actually wobble around. And if this was how, you know, if this was how you had to race, then works perfectly fine. And I must say the tray that the casters are in, it does do a good job. The chair isn't moving around. It can't come out and slide backwards, and it's not moving sideways either, even though there is some space to the left and to the right of the casters. I could make it slide across like this if I want, as you'll see there, but it's not doing it whilst I'm driving. So yeah, the wheel stand gets the thumbs up if you've got a chair that actually fits it. Because herein lies the problem. If you've got one of those GT Amiga gaming chairs, you're screwed. You ain't going to be able to use it. Your armrest is going to hit your shifter, your steering wheel's going to be in your chest, and you ain't going to be able to get in and out. So, yeah, you have to be very, very careful, as I say, about where you buy it from, to make sure you can return it in case your chair doesn't fit, or be prepared to buy a different chair and hope that works. Now, this is a foldaway wheel stand, so we should at least try and fold it away, shouldn't we? Let's just come out of Dirt Rally. In fact, let's just mute the sound. There we go. Right, so I've not actually folded this away yet. In fact, I'm just going to unplug the wires just to make life a bit easier. I mean, some people might leave some stuff plugged in, but I'm going to unplug them. In fact, yeah, you couldn't really leave them plugged in because you're going to be folding this away to put it somewhere, presumably. So let's just wrap that around there or something like that. See what happens. Now, I believe, can we see what we're doing? Yep, it's quite a lump as well, actually. We've got one thumb screw at the back here, which I believe we have to undo. And then I think we just slacken the two at the sides and fold it up and then do them back up again. Bloody hell, how long's the thread on that? Long. So, yeah, there's one here, slacken that, and one here, slacken that. And actually, this is another bit of a weird one. This tray here that you put the casters in, you're supposed to fold it up like this. Now, the problem with that is the bolt here and the bolt here that hold it on, if you do them up tight, then it doesn't move. So that's a bit useless. If you leave them loose, then every time you move this up and down, they gradually come undone. In fact, even if you do them up tight, When you then force it up for the first time to fold it away and put it back down, it brings the bolts back down with it like a half a turn, and it gradually undoes them. So every time you do this up and down, you're gradually going to work these bolts loose at the bottom here, which I think is a bit of a design flaw. I mean, it's not the end of the world because you can just nip them up every time, but that means you've got to keep an Allen key with you every time, which is also just, I don't know, it doesn't seem the most convenient way of doing it. Anyway, they're slackened off, so I think we now just, I should have read the instructions, shouldn't I? Do we pick this up to, oh yeah, something like this. See, and that's the other thing, because those bolts work themselves loose, that isn't going to stay, it's not going to stay up, is it? So yeah, this comes up like this, and then you do your thumb screws up at the side again, here, to stop it flapping back undone. And I think there's also a little storage, where is it? A little something you screw this spare thumb screw into somewhere. I'm sure I saw one. Anyway, there is somewhere. Failing that, any old M8 hole in the rig will do to store that. But yeah, we're left with this flapping around, which I don't like. And also this middle piece here isn't actually, there's no way to sort of lock that in place that I can see. Oh, wait. Yes, there is. That's what you're supposed to do with that thumb screw, Carl. Okay, there's a little, so how's that going to work? So on this piece here, we've got this little bracket here. It's got a thread in it. On this piece here, you won't see this, but here is a little flap with a hole in it. And what it looks like I should do is open these up a little bit. But the thing is, if I open these up a little bit, then it isn't really that folded away anymore. So let's just open the legs up a little bit, and then we can put this to about here, and you can put this thumb screw in here. I knew there was a little tab somewhere. And that now stops the middle piece from flapping around like that. And then you can just nip it as close as you can, which is this, and then you can do these thumb screws up tight at the sides. And that is it folded away. And again, you're left with this flapping around and nothing you can do about it. And that is it folded away. It's not really I mean, it is, you can see the side profile there. It is folded away, but it's not the nicest of fold away options. You know, your shift is sticking out quite a distance here. I mean, it is what it is. I don't really know what I think of this stand. We've definitely got an issue with the way this operates. Every time I move this up and down, look, it's gradually undoing that bolt, and the same this side. We've got some real issues with chair compatibility, which ones are going to fit and not hit shifters and not be too close and what have you. And then when it's folded away, I mean, it is slimmer than what it is set out, but the shifter sticks out so far. And that, again, that's all the way in. It's not the slimmest of fold away options. And again, it's not the quickest thing to fold away either. And this is flapping around. Anyway, it's going to be down to you lot to decide whether this is the sort of, you know, wheel stand that you want. There will be linked in the description, because the functionality of this plate with your chair in it, when you find a chair that fits, works pretty well. The chair doesn't move around and the driving experience is good. But I think a lot of people are going to struggle to find a good seating position, or one that even works at all. Pedal tray, didn't notice any flex at all. Really, really positive point there. Wheel deck and shifter mount, fine, just as good as, you know, the previous wheel stand and the GT Amiga Apex wheel stand from a rigidity point of view. This shifter mount might even be a touch more rigid than the GT Amiga one. And good compatibility as far as pre-drilled holes and what have you go. But yeah, that's my review of the Next Level Racing Wheel Stand 2.0 and the review of this GT Amiga gaming chair that's now right in front of me. The chair's good as well, all apart from these crappy arm pieces. So should you like either of these things, there will be links in the description, discounted ones for the chair, unfortunately full retail price for these because I don't have any discounts for Next Level Racing. Yeah, and I will have my thoughts on this aftermarket CSL DD PSU up at some point in the next week, I imagine, as well. So as always, thank you very much for watching and take it easy.